Top 5 reasons to live in Japan. Number 1. Sole custody. For all the previously mentioned reasons, sole custody is the number one reason children are suffering in Japan. Japan is one of the few countries left in the world that does not have joint custody. Whoever abducts the children first is awarded custody of children in Japan. This means that the guardian, whoever he or she is, decides everything about the child. The child's wishes are never considered. This issue was first brought to the public eye in 2012 by the Australian program The Foreign Correspondent by the title of Sayonara Baby. 10 years later, SBS Australia released a documentary in 2022 following Catherine Henderson and the abduction of her children, followed by Channel 9's 60 Minutes in March 2023.
One parent gets custody of the child, and the other parent never sees them again.
Later, The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald followed with articles on their platform. Anna is a victim of sole custody. Emilia is a victim of sole custody. Wukash is a victim of sole custody. Hinata is a victim of sole custody. Harugo is a victim of sole custody. Alan is a victim of sole custody. Leon is a victim of sole custody. Eugene is a victim of sole custody. Catherine's daughter is a victim of sole custody. Catherine's son is a victim of sole custody. Parents are ripped away from their children's lives. This is common in all Japanese families as well. But it gets worse. In many cases, the children are taught to hate their estranged parent. Yes, hate. Mommy is a monster. Or daddy is a deadbeat. So even if you know where your children are, they may not want to talk to you anymore.
Despite a court order giving Alex Caney monthly access, his wife hasn't allowed him to see his children since she snatched them 2 years ago.
Girls, just look at Daddy, please.
So his frustration has turned to desperation. It's a harrowing scene as the father tries every now and then to connect with his daughters as they leave school.
Selena, Kaylee. Hello, I know you can hear me.
Notice how others think this situation is funny. That's normal in Japan. Until it happens to them. Current statistics state that over 200,000 children a year are separated from a parent due to abduction and divorce. But why is this happening? It all goes back to the 120-year-old Meiji-era law. To protect mothers, the law was created to isolate violent fathers from their spouses and children. But this law has not been updated, despite many thousands of parents protesting across Japan today, demanding the Japanese government change the law. But the Japanese government will not budge. When was the last time you saw news about joint custody in Japan? TV stations and newspapers in Japan refuse to talk about it. No one wants to shake the status quo. Two people come to mind to explain the national mentality. First, ex-Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi. He famously divorced his wife and took custody of his two sons Kotaro and Shinjiro. However, these two boys were raised by one of Koizumi's sisters. Koizumi didn't even raise his own sons. Koizumi also sued for custody of his third, just-born son, Yoshinaga. Yes, you heard me right. His just-born son. When he lost the custody battle, Koizumi ostracized his own son. That's right, ostracized. Yoshinaga is known to have attended one of Koizumi's rallies, but was turned away from trying to meet his father. He was also turned away from attending his paternal grandmother's funeral. It wasn't until Yoshinaga turned 31 that ex-Prime Minister Koizumi told his sons to welcome him to the family. The Japanese public meaning the newspapers hailed Koizumi as a hero for this. How disgraceful. So let's recap about Mr. Koizumi. All this is publicly done. He divorced his wife and never let her see her two older boys. He never raised his own kids, his sister did that. He sued for custody of his just-born third son. He ostracized said son for 30 or so years. He forbid his son from attending his paternal grandmother's funeral. He was praised as a hero for welcoming his son after 30 years of being outcast. Why is this person hailed as a hero? Is it no wonder Japan will never change? These are the kinds of people that run the government of Japan. Current Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is worried about population decline. He is trying to create some wonderful child support policies. Yet, Kishida will not address the issue of sole custody. Another person of note is Daisuke Nakano. Daisuke is the victim of corporately orchestrated child abduction. He lost his son in 2021 to the great and powerful Nakano family of the mega company Miscon. They own brands like Sarsons and Branston. Daisuke was also unlawfully fired and was forced to divorce his wife and has been fighting for his son ever since. Daisuke won several civil suits against the Miscon family. But the courts refused to force restitution. What kind of a society do we live in when the courts won't uphold a verdict they themselves made? Now, the Daisuke story was only on the news for a brief moment in 2021 and only published in one Japanese newspaper. No one else wanted to touch the story. Ask any Japanese person if they know the story of Daisuke Nakano. I guarantee you 99 out of 100 people have not heard his story. Daisuke Nakano's YouTube channel has less than 2,000 views. Why is no one outraged by this event? The sad thing is, the world does not care. The real victims are the children. Sometimes, they don't know they have another parent anymore. In many cases, they want to see their parent and grandparents, but the sole custodian is the law and God when it comes to children's rights. So they are, quote, not allowed to see their parents. This decision to only have sole custody in Japan is a very uninformed idea. Even Shingo Yamagami, the ambassador of Japan to Australia, defends this law despite having his own children taken from him. It is a really sad day in history when victims of abuse, like Shingo Yamagami, defend laws that abuse children.
It's not the sort of meeting they're used to inside Japan's parliament complex.
Now you may think I dislike Japan by the tone of this video. Nothing could be further from the truth. I love Japan. This is why I am speaking out. I love Japan so much that I want to see it succeed. And the only way that can happen is if we all speak up about injustices. So please stand up with me. Talking to your local politician to see what he or she is doing to protect their own citizens is pointless. This issue is decades old. The only way to change the system is to get celebrities involved. The big names like Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlett Johansson, Keanu Reeves, absolutely everyone. Help us, the residents of Japan, to secure a healthy and happy society for our future children. Send a message to Japan.
Whether we like it or not, there is actually a lot of opposition to any change within the Japanese system.
But politician Mizuho Umemura needs to make an impression. She wants to get rid of the country's sole custody laws and allow divorced parents to share their kids.
So you have to convince most of this chamber to change these laws.
Yes, it's very hard, but it's worth to try.
They're very, very slow at changing anything.
I think so too. In this place, thinking is very old, hard to change. We can't change the law on our own, so we need international help.
If you must, boycott Japanese products. All of them. Especially Miss Khan. If a Japanese company does not support joint custody, declare you won't buy their products. Force them to lobby the government. Make these old ways of thinking stop. A movement has to begin. Do not turn a blind eye to these ongoing abuses. Help us be the change for our future.
Waiting for you, waiting for you. I promise I got you. Waiting for you, waiting for you. Oh, oh, I promise I got you. Waiting for you, waiting for you. I promise I got you.